And again, with financial abundance, if we're not in that frequency of being who you really are, I feel it's harder to attract what you're worth. So
welcome to a new episode of New Earth Awakening. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome to our show, Amanda Steadman. Welcome.
Hi, Caro. Nice to be here.
So for starters, could you please share a little bit about your background?
Yeah, obviously you can tell from the accent, I'm from the United Kingdom, but I spend a tremendous amount of time in Mexico, which I really feel is my spiritual home. I have done the corporate thing. I have owned my own business for about 20 years, and I've done the going for the money, all of that kind of stuff. And then over the years, what's happened is I've just become more and more spiritual and discovered that sometimes you don't need to do the hustle. You just need to be aligned with who you are, and then things come to you. I know many of you that are watching this kind of know it consciously, but you're not necessarily embodying it yet. So for me, it's been a journey of embodying it and being able to share that with other people. So many years ago, I went down the path of hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, and Louise L. Hay. And I did that because I lost my mum to cancer 31 years ago when I was 20. And she had ovarian cancer, her mum had ovarian cancer, and her sister had ovarian cancer. And she was the third person to get it. So she was convinced somewhere in her psyche that it was going to happen to her. And I do believe with these other tools, if I could go back in time, I would have been able to change that. And I know that that's not necessarily what we can do these days, but what drives me is making sure that other women don't go down the same route, that they keep their self-esteem high, that they tune into this unlimited power that they are as a woman, and to really be who they are on their mission and attract things rather than staying in victimhood or having ancestral trauma or any of these horrible things that we get tested with when we're down here. So that's really my journey. I'm also a mum, so I've been very conscious of making sure that my children are nurtured, we don't say the wrong things, and that they know that they are an infinite being as well, and that they have infinite potential. So I feel very blessed to have come this far and to do the work that I love, which is primarily hypnotherapy, healing, and also business mentoring. I've had a lot of people that come to me for business mentoring because they see how things run and they see that I can do things and get over invisible blocks that a lot of people can't. So that's my mission, to help people get through those invisible blocks and to get to that level of joy, fulfillment, and your purpose. So that's me, really.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And could you share the story about how the universe spoke directly to you? And it was this moment where you needed to embody this calmness.
Mm-hmm. I'll start, just to give a bit more context. I traveled to somewhere called Palenque, which is in Chiapas in the center of Mexico, and there's a huge Mayan ruin there. And when we arrived in the car park, I started to get contractions. And so I was like, what is going on? And I said to my husband, look, something's going on. I don't know what, but I need to just breathe this through. So I sat in the ruin and literally breathed. It took 2 hours to get rid of those, to get rid of that. And so I didn't think anything of it. I didn't receive big images. I just felt a lot of energy going through. But within 2 months of that, what started to happen in my hypnotherapy sessions is this frequency started to come through my voice. And at first I was like, what is that? Because I've always been a slightly different. I've always been a little bit on the esoteric side and just always wanted to help people and always wanted to go the extra mile. And in the hypnotherapy sessions, this just started to come through. So I was curious and I started to do research. And on one hand, for the religious side, I think it's called speaking in tongues. And on the new age side, it's called light language. And so it just came through because I was with a client at the time. I could feel it coming up, and it just came out of my mouth. And that was about 5 years ago now. And I got the message that this is a gift to be able to heal people at the deepest level. So with the hypnotherapy and all the conscious work I'm doing, there's a lot you can do with the subconscious and the conscious brain to make it feel safe. They both want to feel safe all the time. And that's why we stay stuck in limiting patterns, especially from our parents. You're not good enough, you're not worthy, especially ones for women. And a lot of women I work with have daddy or mummy issues where something's happened in the past and it's blocking their relationships, it's blocking their financial abundance in their business. It just blocks them all different levels. So the great thing about the way I work and the gift that I've been given is that it blends the spiritual, the neuroscience, the physical, and the emotional. So it's a really holistic way to move somebody forward, because sometimes we just get so stuck. And this just kind of heals everything. So when the language comes through, my sessions are about 45 minutes to an hour. Some of the group ones are longer. I do the framework of hypnotherapy, but in between, it just decides when it wants to come through. And sometimes I will get images, words. I will see things from the past or the future for that person. And they'll give me exactly what that person needs or the group needs wherever I am. And I still don't understand it fully. I have to be honest. It's like turning the electricity on, but not understanding how the electricity works. But from what I've seen over the last 5 years, it works. And so at the end of the day, if I can raise the vibration and take away the pain of the past from some person in 45 minutes and move them forward, then I'm helping the planet and I'm helping the earth awaken and moving not just them, but their family and everybody that's with them forward. Because they text me after a few days or a couple of weeks and say, oh, my friend circle's just changed. This happened, this synchronicity happened. And it's just amazing to watch. So I was very shy at first, because some of you that are out there that are watching this program, you probably are healers or you want to be activated. And we can be a little bit shy in being visible. So my advice to you is, and I've gone through this myself, I went through a period of 1.5 years where I did not want to be visible. I did not want to share my gift. I felt nervous. I felt embarrassed. I felt lonely, to be honest, because sometimes it's a lonely path when you have these gifts and you're not sure how to share them, because the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how am I going to be judged? And especially by my family, who don't really understand the work that I do. So it held me back for a long time. But I've got to the point now where I'm like, do you know what? I just don't give a shit. I'm on a mission. I have to help people. And I've been given this gift for a reason. And one of my mentors said, Amanda, you've been quite selfish. You're not sharing this, so you need to go out. So that's why I've stepped up to do things like this, to connect with Caro, which was, again, coincidence. She popped up through another contact, Carolina, and I was like, oh, so I need to speak to this lady. And you'll find when you're on the path that these things start to pop up. So again, my advice is really listen. What are your gifts? What are you supposed to be sharing? What gives you joy? I love my work. Love it. Love it. So what signs are you getting for your own path and to being able to uncover your own gifts, because you will have them.
So what makes your heart sing right now?
Oh, my first answer just came straight up with my children. That's the first one. My children I'm blessed that they chose me to be their mum. They are real gifts, both creative artist girls, 12 and 14, and just really beautiful souls. Not always easy, because they're very headstrong and very independent, and that's the way that I brought them up. And the second thing is really my work, what I just described to you. I had 4 beautiful goddesses come for a group healing and hypnotherapy on Saturday, and they just all needed that extra permission to just be. And I felt so blessed to be able to give them the permission and to take away a lot of pain and suffering that they're going through, all different circumstances, but to be able to use that energy of the group and to bring through that gift of frequency to them and clear a lot of that, so they could go back and just process. And they've already let go of quite a few layers, but just the fulfillment that comes knowing that you've changed them from a fundamental level. And my guides do regularly tap me on the shoulder and say, remember to acknowledge us as well. So I'm saying to the ladies, look, it's your divine team as well. I'm just the channel, taking a little bit of credit, but at the end of the day, it's, I'm the guide and the channel. So I'm just very grateful that whatever they need comes through, and it feels so aligned, and it's taken a long time to get here. Like I said at the beginning, I did the money thing, making money online, running an Amazon business, doing business consultancy, selling, I've done all of that. But to be able to get paid to do what you love and what you came here for it's just amazing. So that really lights me up, Caro. That's the big thing, alongside my children and obviously my husband. I have to mention him. He's a star as well.
Thank you. So would you share about conscious parenting, some examples for the audience to know how you handle things when they pop up?
Well, obviously, because I've got the hypnotherapy and psychology background, when they were growing up, I never said things like, you stupid girl, or things like that. You always got to separate the child from the behavior. So I always said things like, now that was a silly thing to do, wasn't it? That was a crazy moment. What can you do differently? So it's very much about the words. And as they were growing up, I'm always saying to them, oh, you're gorgeous. Look at you. That was a really clever thing to do. Wow, that picture's amazing. Lots of encouragement. But if they did something that wasn't right, then it'd be, is that a loving thing to do? And I'd let them just sit and think about it. And then I'd say, okay, have a think about it and come back to mummy and tell me what could you do differently? And the other thing is, I don't use the word mistake. I use the word learning, so that they don't have that need to feel like they're failing. So I don't use the word failure. Words are so powerful with children because they soak everything up. So we use the word learning. And the other word we don't use is punishment. We use consequences. And ever since, I've always talked to my children like they're little people, like they're little adults. I never babied them or mollycoddled them. I always made sure that they could make their own decisions. And I let them be who they are. I never forced them to do things. A lot of parents here force their children to do 25 million sports, extra homework, all that kind of thing. And my children are homeschooled. They've been in and out of schools. So they're socialized, but they're just very enlightened beings. And it's sometimes hard to connect with other normal teenagers that are on Instagram and doing the I don't want to say fake, the superficial stuff. They're very, very switched on kids. So they've had a bit of a challenge connecting with the average teenager, but luckily we do have enlightened friends and we hang out with them. And that's important to have those friends that support the children. And it's not about consumerism and exactly how you look. It's about what's going on in here. My children, if we say to my children, what's the most important thing? They'll look at you and they'll go, love, mummy. And they mean it, because love is the most important thing. And then we do say that financial abundance right after is great, because that gives you choice. So money's good too. And I teach them that money is energy and energy is good. And I also teach them that money needs to work for you. So if they hold on to their pocket money for a month, I give them 10% at the end of the month. Anything that they've held on to and not spent, I'll give them 10%, so that they can see and get a feel that money can work for them. And they have two entrepreneurial parents. So my children are also very entrepreneurial. They're in the pandemic, they were selling stuff to neighbors and creating money from nowhere. That's another thing I say to my children. You can create money from nowhere, just allow it to come to you. So all these little phrases and things are going into their subconscious mind, and it becomes a belief for them. Unfortunately, there are some parents here that don't do that. And I can see that the children are going further and further inside, and I can't get to everybody, but for those of you that are parents out there, let the children be who they are. Don't force them to do anything. If they don't want to learn the piano, don't force them. Give them the opportunity to learn it and get some experience, but don't force them. I got the drums in for the kids. I was like, let's play drums. And they did it for like a month. I'm still playing the drums. They are not. So I just encourage them to try everything. And I don't force them to do anything that they really don't want to do. Some parents here force their kids to do dance and they just don't want to go. The other thing is screen time. Minimize it as much as possible. And also, we don't have a television. I know that's a hard one for some of you out there, especially in North America. We haven't had a television for 15 years. We do have a screen where they can watch Netflix, a bigger screen, but we minimize screen time as much as possible. And I'm sure you can test it for yourself. The longer that they're on a screen, especially a small one, they become not so nice children. So get them outside, even if it's cold, kick them outdoors and get them to connect with nature, because they'll be much nicer children, I promise you.
Awesome. So getting into Reiki, what kind of changes have you noticed in the energies lately?
Do you mean as a collective or just as the practice of Reiki?
Both. Just like, how has 2024 changed the energies?
I would say, I mean, I became a Reiki master in 2000, so a long time ago. And back then I was a bit skeptical. I did Reiki 1 and 2, and I was like, oh, I'm not feeling really very much here. You know, I was like, this is maybe not real. But then when I got connected to be a Reiki master, I felt like someone had literally just lifted up the top of my head, done something, and then put the lid back down. It was so powerful. And after that, I started to see the results of even just doing distance healing, sending energy. And over the last 25 years, it's just become way more stronger. And if you are initiated into Reiki, it opens up all kinds of different gifts, especially intuition. So that has grown massively. And I think the practice of Reiki, don't think essentially it's changed very much over the last 25 years. I don't actually say I'm a Reiki master anymore. It's no one's ever really asked me, because it's just kind of a natural thing anyway. And at the end of the day, most of us have this energy going inside us anyway. Reiki, I think, just speeds it up. So don't feel you have to go and be a Reiki master. If you just meditate and you tune in and you ask your guides, hey, look, I want more healing to come through me. I really want to heal. I want to be able to serve. They have to answer. So allow that energy to come through. The last 6 months, energy has got even more powerful, and I believe it's speeding up again. So between now and next year, which is a very pivotal year for a lot of us light workers, it's going to get even stronger. And so we are being called to do our best and to do even more good deeds. So that means good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. So the energy is there. So your job is to tap into it. If you're watching this and you're being called, I'm already sending energy into this transmission for you. So connect with either me or Caro or someone who you feel aligned with to really bring that energy in, because it's available and it's here now.
So why are the next 3 months so pivotal and crucial for the collective?
Apparently, those lower vibrational states are kind of moving out of our sphere. So for those of you that are plugged into that frequency, you will start to notice that certain people, certain things, and certain emotions will start to fade out of your life. And it's really important the next 3 months, because there is so much negativity going on in the world that we need to balance it out and supersede it. So the more people that are in touch with their positive emotions, we are energetic beings, and you can go down the quantum physics of everything now, and they're starting to prove everything scientifically. I always have this little challenge with some of my medical clients and some of my scientific clients, but they're now realizing, especially with the work that some of people like Bruce Lipton and what's his name, Greg Braden are doing, they are proving that we are energetic beings. We have an energetic field around us, and we are plugged into the bigger energetic field, which is the divine God quantum field, whatever you want to call it. And for those of us that are connected, most of us are receiving messages that we need to do that work to get ourselves to the higher level. We need to serve. We need to clear our past, any of the blocks, anything that's holding us back from the 3D human physical body. You need to let it go. You need to let the lower emotions go. We need to stay in joy and love and fulfillment as much as we can. And also on the financial front, it's important for us to be aligned so that we get the abundance and those finances. And if you're in a business as well, you're being able to attract the clients that you need to get to. I was just working primarily one-to-one and some corporates and some group things, but I've been shown, and people are coming to me now for more of the business mentoring side. So a lot of us are out there doing the light work, but we're not attracting the clients or getting the financial abundance that we need to do the impact that we want to do. So now I've been tasked with getting to those people and getting them into a much more aligned financial abundance space so they can make the impact that they need to make. But they've got to get over their visibility issues. They've got to get over their imposter syndrome issues, because a lot of us carry a lot of baggage for why we shouldn't be visible and why we shouldn't be out there. And so we need to get past that to help with this resurgence and massive awakening that's happening right now for the next 3 months. And 2025 allegedly is supposed to be a little bit easier, but we need to get up there to be able to coast at the 2025 level.
Thank you. And what does your frequency is your currency mean to you?
Pretty much building on what I just said, which is if we are at a higher currency, Like, I am very aligned with what I do. So if I'm in a group, if I'm speaking, if I'm at a party, I am like talking to people about how I can help literally dissolve most invisible barriers that people have. So I'm putting at that frequency of, I think we spoke about this on the pre-call, being the lighthouse. So that lighthouse, the light is going out, and that really is, yeah, it's being the lighthouse. And for some of us, that doesn't necessarily mean to be that you are a big lighthouse. You might just be a little one. Like for some of you, just being the best mum in the world might be what you're supposed to do, and your children are destined to go on to do everything. I've always felt this pressure, especially recently, to go global and do the big things. But I have a lot of friends that are doing amazing things just in their community or just in their family. So you don't always have to feel that it has to be a big thing. And again, with financial abundance, if we're not in that frequency of being who you really are, I feel it's harder to attract what you're worth. So for many of the people I'm working with, they're not charging what they're worth. So if you're up there and you're loving what you do and you really believe in the results that you're bringing to your clients, then that's a much different frequency. And that is going to bring in the financial abundance. And when I say frequency is your currency, it's not just relating to money as well. It is relating to all those areas of your life. Your currency, like we talked about, energy is money, money is energy. So that currency, again, you could be sending out something to a group, and then that could be coming back to you in a completely different way. So it's all about where your energy is. And then to go into a little bit of what I call brain and heart coherence. For when I meditate, I do my best to go into brain and heart coherence. So what that is I go into gratitude and I go into love, and I can feel like my heart's going to explode a little bit. And then I imagine that golden line going up to my pineal gland up at the back here, and then sending it up to the divine to send out a big signal of love and gratitude for everything that I have, everything that I am, finally being on the path to what I'm supposed to be doing. And the other phrase I use to keep the frequency high is, I am guided and the path is clear. I am guided and the path is clear. That's a really good one, to just know that you're being supported, and ask to keep your frequency as high as possible. It does make life a lot easier. Like I said, it can affect every area of your life. So yeah, see things as frequency and currency, and energy is money, money is energy. And we are energy. Everything is energy. So everything is currency. So decide which phrase is right for you, and use it to your advantage.
Would you like to share a story about the magic of living in Mexico, and also about Peru, please?
Yes. Well, I do travel back to the UK and between the US and lots of different countries. I'd probably say that Mexico is one of my favorite places to camp out. My children love it here, and the weather's great, but it does get too hot. So I do enjoy the cooler weather of Europe as well. Mexico, where we are at the moment, is a very spiritual, energetically strong place. You have different places in Mexico that emit that kind of frequency, many places, which is why the Mayans were here, and obviously the Aztecs have their own things that are happening over the other side of Mexico. The area that I'm in is very much connected to Mayans, so there are 1 million Mayan ruins around here. There are literally Mayan ruins about 100 meters in front of me. So the energy of each of these sites is very positive. And that's obviously a reason why I've been drawn to this place. And there are a lot of other light workers that have been drawn here as well. And also there's a place called Tulum, which is further south of here, which has also been a mecca for very spiritual people. Lots of different magic happens here, and people come here and they kind of have to face themselves. So when they come here, a lot of them are doing plant medicine, ayahuasca. That's where you take a particular plant medicine and you have your own spiritual experience to speed things up. So there's magic everywhere here, really, from the trees to the culture to the history to the Mayans. So it's a place where you come to cleanse and to clear the past. That's what I've experienced coming here and stepping into a new skin, really. And even tourists feel it when they come here. It's a very special place. So I'm very grateful to have experienced Mexico, and the magic that's here. Regarding Peru is a slightly different frequency. I've been to Peru twice, and the first time I went, my husband and I were supposed to get engaged at the top of Machu Picchu. But it didn't go according to plan. We had a bit of a ding dong at the top, and it didn't happen. And I also had food poisoning. So I went through a real purge. And in Peru, you will be up against the wall in some of those spiritual places to really face who you are, but not necessarily in the most pleasant way. So I think if you want a real hardcore spiritual experience, Peru is for you. It's beautiful, but it's very, very strong. The energy is super strong. I went back to Peru a couple of years ago, and it was my family's turn to go through the food poisoning and some of those other unpleasant things. And this time I went back a lot stronger, and I went to Pizuk. And obviously I went back to Machu Picchu again. The energy there is exceptionally strong. Lots of vortexes and evidence of spiritual awakening across all the different generations. It's just beautiful. And I highly recommend to anyone, if you haven't been to Mexico, especially the East Coast where a lot of the Mayan ruins are, or Chichen Itza. Palenque is very strong, which is in Chiapas in the central Mexico. It's the one where I had an amazing experience there. It was very, very strong. So if anybody wants a big awakening, I highly recommend Palenque. And in Peru, Machu Picchu is a bit touristy. The energy gets a little bit diluted, but there's also a place called Pizuk, which is, they've got these amazing circular kind of grass areas and temples. It's just phenomenal. And it's called is it the valley? The valley, the spiritual valley. I can't remember the exact name, but the valley. If you say the valley to anyone in Peru, they'll know. And that's right by Cusco. Cusco is the center, and you can go to Machu Picchu from there. So I highly recommend you get to either of those two countries. Phenomenal.
So how has your journey gone so far to becoming visual more and more? You said you needed to cocoon for 1.5 years, and then you emerged like a phoenix.
Yes, I had COVID, and it put me into brain fog. And it wasn't just the COVID. I had nudges that I just needed to rest and really focus on my family and the children. And then about 18 months, almost 2 years later, the brain fog cleared, and I managed to get back into really focusing on the clients and expanding the business and being much more visible. And the last 6 months, again, things just popped into my email inbox, people that I'd never even heard of. I don't have any idea how they got my email, but I signed up to a couple of courses, and then they introduced me to somebody else, and they introduced me to somebody else. And then I was linked on LinkedIn, and I connected with another girl recently who's just, again, on my same frequency. We're about to do a summit together. So everything's just lining up and speeding up. It's hard to put into words, Kara. I'm trying to find the words now. Yeah, it's just everything's speeded up, and people have found me. Things are falling into place. I still feel a little bit like I'm out of my comfort zone, but I've just been doing the lives on Facebook. I've been reaching out to people like yourself to go, just do the podcast, get on the camera, speak from the heart. Whoever needs to hear the message will hear it. So it's about trusting. And I think I said on our other call, it's not about me. And for those of you that are healers and messengers, it's not about us. It's the message that needs to get out. So we don't need to worry about how we look, how we sound. We've got to have that connection from our heart, and it's connection, not perfection. So I really remember that connection, not perfection. The path is clear and I am guided. So when I fall into those two things, it gets me past that fear of doing a Facebook Live. I even did one of my first masterclass last week, which I haven't done for such a long time, called Progress Over Perfection, because a lot of people are still doing perfectionism, which relates to daddy and mum issues and relates to all the things that their parents said to them when they were little that's done damage, and we need to reverse that. So I really come out of the closet to do things like this and just be. Doesn't mean I'm still, not a little bit nervous. I still, think, but I just think I need to reach people who need me, and that's it. And it's the same for you, Carrie, with the information you're putting out. It's valuable, it's important, it's high vibration, and people need to hear their truth from all different people. So I just want to thank you again for allowing us to do this through you.
Well, and thank you for sharing. Those are very deep conversations, and people become very vulnerable by sharing those experiences. So I'm very grateful for people just being able to own their own truths and just going their way, regardless of anything that happened, because your story doesn't need to mandate who you are, who you want to become, and what values you want to embody.
Yeah, just on that note, I say to most people I come into contact with, your past does not define who you are. You can change everything in a moment. So if you're thinking that you can't change because of X, Y, Z, it's not true. Your subconscious mind, once it gets the instruction that you're safe to make that change, you can make that change. You don't need to carry any of that stuff with you, and you can change in a moment. Honestly, I've seen it thousands and thousands of times. And when we get out of our own way, life is very different on the other side. I promise you. So just have the courage to take those steps to just let the past go. Because once you've got that energy, it goes into all different areas, and you'll see it, feel it, and witness it. And then you'll realize, this is what it's like on the other side. And it's phenomenal. So come and join us.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you reprogram yourself?
Myself, I actually record my own hypnosis tracks and hypnotize myself. But I also have a fabulous friend called Caroline, who's also an amazing hypnotherapist, and she's got an amazing voice. And we swap hypnotherapy sessions. So whenever we get a little bit stuck, we swap out. But if I want to do something specific and longer, I will literally play it and hypnotize myself, because all the answers are there. And if I get stuck, I just need to change it with a few different phrases and put in a different program. But with that program, again, I always have to tell the subconscious mind, look, we're putting in this new program, but it's still going to fulfill the same positive intentions that you wanted for me, but only in this amazing, healthy, 100% self-loving way. And then it goes, okay, then I'll try it. But it's like a teenager. You have to be its friend. You have to let it know that it's safe. You have to let it know that it hasn't made any mistakes. All the things up until that point, it's okay. But hey, why don't we do something different? And then there's something that we call parts integration, where we have everything that we don't like kind of on this hand and everything we want on this hand. And we integrate both of those parts. So again, the subconscious is super visual. So with all my work, and I work with children as well. I do NLP with children under 7, but hypnosis with children over 7. It's just got to be visual. I do a lot of Harry Potter, a lot of Harry Potter visualizations with children, which works really well, because what I do is magic. I just tell them I'm the magic lady and I'm going to make you feel better. And it's all to do with Harry Potter. And you just get the subconscious on side and say, hey, look, come down this path with me. It's nice and safe. And oh, this is pretty, and this is pretty. And oh, look at that box. Why don't we put all the things we don't want in there? Oh, goodbye box. And it's all visual, because it loves visual. The other thing I said to the 4 ladies I did in the group on Saturday is the subconscious also loves rewards. So when you've done something like that, you say, hey, look, I've just gone through that. I've just let go of some layers. I'm going to go and get myself a massage or a little bar of chocolate. I'm going to reward myself, and say to your subconscious mind, you did such a good job. Oh, you did such a good job of letting that go. Fabulous. Thank you. Well done. And it just loves rewards, loves being told that it's doing a good job. And it's the most powerful part of one of the most powerful parts of being human. And we can change it. We have the power to change it, which is just great. But you have to be very nice to it. And sometimes with some people, especially scientific people, people that have a Germanic background, countries that have a lot of control, it does take a lot longer for that guard to go down. The subconscious is still like, no, no, no. And so some people are a bit resistant to the first part of the hypnotherapy, but gradually we just build up, and then eventually the subconscious goes, oh, okay, then we'll see, we'll try.
Perfect. So you spoke a little bit about Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden. So what are the things that blew your mind while finding it out, while reading a book of them? for example?
Well, I was lucky enough to do a live stream down in Tulum with the channel Gaia, and got to ask him some questions and got to kind of meet him. And he's like a 5-year-old. He leaps around everywhere. He's amazing. So full of vitality and love and life, and is a demonstration of what your frequency is, your currency is. Super high vibe. The biggest thing for me is because my mum died of ovarian cancer, my family kept saying, you need to get the gene test. You need to get the gene test, which is, it's called the BRCA gene test, and it tells you whether or not you're likely to have ovarian cancer. My guides told me, I didn't really know they were guides, but my prompts I got many years ago after mum died was, don't get the test. You don't need it. Don't bother with it. And so I kept telling my subconscious mind, I'm like my dad. Everything's good. Everything's good. Unfortunately, my sister had breast cancer twice. So she had a full mastectomy and a hysterectomy. Luckily, she had a son in between. She was told she couldn't have a son. I'll share this story quickly. And she had a son. And I'd said to my mum, because I communicate with her, I want one of my children to be born on your birthday. And that didn't happen. And my sister was she was the last to have a child. And I remember my daughter was doing ballet, and it was the 3rd of June. My mum's birthday is the 4th of June. My sister went into labor on the 3rd of June. And I remember sitting there having a conversation with mum going, she's going to have him on your birthday, isn't she? It's not fair. How come she gets to have her child on your birthday? I put a request in first. And my mum's answer was, your sister needed a bigger sign. And that says it all to me about divine wonder, synchronicity, love, the whole works, that my sister's son was born on my mum's birthday.
Wow.
I know. Incredible, isn't it? There's miracles everywhere, people. So you need to believe that they're going to happen for you. And they will. And I've forgotten the question now, Cara. I got so carried away. What was the question again?
Well, I was asking about Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton.
Oh, yes.
Your take on that.
Back to epigenetics, the whole circle thing. So my sister had breast cancer. She had the test, and it came back saying she was likely to, because she had the BRCA gene. So when all the information about epigenetics came out, epigenetics essentially says that the genes are signaled by the environment. So the environment that you're in signals the gene. It's not predestined. Now, a lot of scientists are still arguing this, but I'm going down the camp, because that's what I believe, that I can change my genes. And so far, touch wood, I'm 52. My mum died at 43, angels. I believe that I can change my genes by being in an environment where I love myself. The people around me love me. I take care of my body. I meditate. So spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally, I'm keeping myself as healthy and as high vibration as I can, so that my genes are happy, and my little telomeres, which are part of the genes, are all very happy running around. I get sunshine. Everywhere outside of the UK and Europe is much slower, so it's lower stress. So with epigenetics, it showed me that the track that I was on was correct. And that if you are doing meditation and you are doing hypnotherapy and all the other therapies to clear your mind and keep your cortisol levels down and your parasympathetic nervous system switched on in a positive way, then you can control your genes. The environment signals the gene. So the work that they're doing is very, very important. And again, we circle back to the same thing, which is everything is energy, and energy is everything. So you've got to focus on your energetic bank account and just keep that in mind, and you'll be on the right track.
So how do you see the ascension process taking place right now?
For me, it's very much that feeling of energy. I feel energy all the time, and I feel that it's going up, and I can see it in people around me. I can see a little bit more joy, a little bit more fulfillment. On the other side, I also see light workers that are still struggling a little bit. So I think they've got to go through their own process. I had dengue fever, which I felt was my process recently, and even my children. And I feel that was a process to go through, and that was part of it. Other than that, I don't have any preconceived notions or expectations at this point. I really am going with the flow. The information I'm getting is to really focus on yourself. again, I've got obviously the business and everybody else I'm taking care of, but the first line has to be you. It has to be your energy. It has to be your well-being, and focus on that and the areas of control that you can control. That's the feeling that I'm getting, and not to worry about exactly what's going to happen in 1, 2, 3 months down the line, because I'll get the information when I need it. So it's really trusting. So I don't really have any preconceived ideas of how it's going to happen. And I think it is a very individual process, even though we're all working together for the collective. I think a lot of people are really going through their own process right now. And I think it's different for everybody depending on what level you are and what level your frequency is at.
So what is your process while channeling?
I literally just say in my head, give me what they need. I'm here to serve. Allow me to be the channel. Go. and then it literally comes in. It's like it's not like I in my mind have a switch. It just kind of comes up, and then I sometimes kind of feel it in my chest. I feel the energy moving in my chest, like it wants to come up through my throat. And then I just start. Sometimes I'll be in the street and it'll come up for strangers, a bit like Reiki, and we just send it out. But when I'm in the framework of a session, then it will come out generally in between parts that I've done that are part of they seem to know this part, that this is a great bit to do in the middle of this hypnotherapy framework. So I just trust that it comes up when it does, and I feel it. And it is interesting because when it comes through, I can hear it and I'm observing it. But it's not me. It's an unusual feeling. It's hard to describe, because sometimes, especially if somebody needs a lot of healing, it will be like sounds rather than like a language or a frequency. And so my conscious brain is going, oh, that sounds different today. That's interesting. And my conscious brain is also going, when it stops, I've got to remember, because sometimes when I'm in the zone, I've got to remember, okay, which part of the process was I in? Because sometimes I'll get into a higher state and I'll have to just take a deep breath and go, okay, yes, I've finished that part. Now I need to go on to the next part, because I just surrender. It really is about surrendering. And even if you're not doing that channeling, I would highly recommend in all different parts of your life, especially when you're facing really big problems, sometimes you just have to surrender and trust that something's going to work out. I know for me, some big things financially happened in the UK and I was getting so stressed about it, I made myself ill. And then I just went, I'm not practicing what I preach. Take a deep breath, Amanda, and just go and meditate for a couple of hours and leave it alone for a couple of days. And I did that. And both those big issues sorted themselves out. I was like, oh, thank you. Because sometimes we just get, we can't solve the problem for the level of the problem, and you need to surrender. So my challenge to you out there is choose different parts of your life to practice surrendering in, because we know it consciously, but to do it is a challenge, because we're so programmed to do rather than surrender. We always have to be in control. That's another thing for many of us, especially women. We always have to feel we have to be in control. And at the end of the day, we have a certain level of control, but most of the time, the divine has a different plan. So choose your destination and trust that you're going to get there in the best, most loving, easiest way possible. We are being challenged at the moment, though, from what I can see, there are challenges, but you'll just handle it a lot better when you've got that frequency as your currency in place. You'll just go, I can get more energy. I'm going to move through this. I'm going to be okay. I've got this.
So when you channel, how does it feel like while you are doing it? And how does it feel like when you come out of it?
It's different for every client, really, or every situation. Sometimes, I think I told you on the last call, when I go to the sea, it just starts. It loves the ocean, just likes to chat to the ocean. So I'm in there and people can see me talking to myself. I'm like, just let it go. So that feels really good. If I'm serving, I do feel most times a lot of energy go through. So I tend to feel quite hot. My hands will go hot, a bit like Reiki. And at different times I will, if my eyes are closed, I will see things. So I will see messages, people, lights. I will see lots of different colors when I'm channeling, and I will get pieces. Like I said, I will get pieces of information for the person. Not all the time. They'll only get what they need. So it's a mixture of different things. It's like plugging into Netflix to a certain extent. You know, you're plugging in and you've got all these different frequencies going through, and it feels good. I did one guy once, and he had so much love coming in for him. And I remember my arms do their own thing. So I remember my arms going kind of up like this and just feeling so much love coming through for him. And my arms were up there for like 20 minutes. So my arms were like really tired by the end, but there was just so much love coming in. I had this big smile on my face. I literally, this big grin. I couldn't stop smiling because there was just so much love coming through. And I felt I didn't want to charge him because I felt like I just like an immense download. And at the end I went, I don't feel I should charge you because I think I got more out of that than you. It was so good. So a lot of times I feel very energized. Sometimes if it's a heavy duty thing, like one of the ladies the other day, is she had a lot of sorrow and grief. And so I did take that on. I did protect myself, but sometimes I have a little bit of residue left over. So I have to literally clean that. I'll feel it and take it in my solar plexus, and I'll have to like get rid of that at the end of the session. So it feels different every time, but overall it feels very empowering and I feel very connected. And again, I just feel blessed that I can help by delivering what I'm delivering. So it feels good. Yeah.
Super. So would you like to bring through a beneficial frequency and message for the collective, please? Could you tune into our audience?
So I'm just in my head asking for them to download whatever's needed to whoever's watching this on the replay, that the energy and the codes and the frequencies will be in the transmission and in the recording. Imi kiri kitaskana akara katashkana uru kutukuta barakataskana kate. Imi kiri kitaskana ekiri katashkana uru kutukuta barakataskana kate. Imi kiri kitaskana ekiri katashkana uru kutukuta barakataskana kate. I kiri kitashkana akara katasna uru kurukuta panakataskana kate. Imi kiri kitashkana akara kata anekete uru kutukuta pakataskana kashne. Imi kiri kitaskana ekiri katashkana uru katapa akata etste utu. Imi kiri kutu ota patsa te enekere kata imikiri kitiskene e kerekatashkana a uru kutu katapa asakate ene kiri kitiskene e imikiri kitishkene akrakataskana uru kutu kataparakate imikiri kitiskene akrakatashkana e kerekatiskene e uru kutu katamaraka anasatakate imikiri kitiskene e kerekatishkene uru kutu katapara imikiri kitiskene e kerekatishkene a nakataskana e uru kutu katamarakaskana a inge kirikatashna.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Exactly. Thanks to everyone.
Thanks to everyone. So it does sound to me, I always think my brain's going, it sounds Mayan. Sounds a bit Mayan. So I tried some of the, maybe a Mayan high priest. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure exactly where it comes from. There's lots of different theories and lots of people have told me different things. So I'm just going to leave that open to the imagination for now and just focus on the receiving of it rather than the how.
Perfect. Fair enough. So would you share a little bit about alignment, and after that about your Academy of Alignment?
Yes. So throughout this presentation, obviously, and conversation, I've talked about alignment and your frequency is your currency. And unfortunately, we do have a lot of invisible blocks and trauma and all kinds of things that we're carrying in our body and our ethereal field. And so the Align You Academy is very much about getting through those invisible blocks. So really getting to the core of who you are. And with that light language that you've just experienced then, that is also part of it. So it takes off the layers, but also activates different parts of you at a physical and spiritual level so that you get through that stuff and speed up who you are, why you came here, and who you're supposed to serve. For those of you that, again, want to get better relationships, you want to improve your business, this is the start. You have to get the foundations in place. So you have to remember who you are and really revisit that foundation of what makes you happy and what are your gifts. Sometimes we're not aware of what our gifts are. So I help uncover the gifts. Once you start to bring into alignment, again, you start to get messages of this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing. And again, you might start to have a healing ability, or you might be able to get intuitive messages. things just start to shift. So alignment to me is really being more of who you already are. We're just uncovering the layers. I'm sure some of you have heard that story of the Buddha. It was a golden Buddha, and then there was a war that broke out, I think, and they covered the Buddha with lots of mud. And then years later, they took the mud off, and the Buddha was underneath. And that's how I feel I work, is that the Buddha's already there, or whatever deity you want to put in, don't want to offend anyone. But your spirit, your soul's already there. All we got to do is take that mud off to get to it, so you can step into who you really are and make the money and charge what you're supposed to be charging and be in the relationship and be loved by that other person. And everything works when you're in alignment. So I'm here to clear the crap away, really, and just get you there sooner rather than later, not waiting, like 30 years, or 40 years, some of us, until we get to that point. I want to speed it up so people can be happier, joyful, fulfilled, and richer now, not in 10 or 20 years, because now is what we have. The present moment is so important. So let's just be there, do it, have it now.
And where can people find out more about your work and everything that you're doing for the collective ascension?
They can go to the two websites primarily at the moment, which is amandasteadman.com, AMANDASTEADMAN.com, and also Align You Academy. So I'll give Carol the link so you can click on those. And for most people, I just do a little, like what we just done, like an energy session with you, and that's free. It's 20 minutes. We just have a chat. If you're drawn to me and you resonate with me, that's free. Just to have a 20-minute call with me to figure out where your blind spots are. I'm not selling anything. There's nothing like that. We just have a chat. And if you feel great, then you can choose to do something else with me later or come back another time. I just want to connect with you and see how I can help. So that'll also be possible on both those sites. So just book a 20-minute call.
So, and for the final, I have a question for you, which transports us into the year of 2050. So if you would visualize 2050, what do you see, hear, feel, sense?
From what I'm seeing, I can see, to me, it looks very white. So it looks peaceful. It looks calm. I can see lots of women in power. So trusting that that's going to come to fruition. It just looks peaceful. I see lots of people in white clothing moving around. Yeah, it feels peaceful. It feels loving. That's what I can see. So, yeah, it looks like, yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Thanks for sharing with us. And I wish you the best. And I'd love to have you back.
That would be amazing. It's been a pleasure to be here. I look forward to supporting this channel and getting you out to many more people, because this information is needed. And I know you have some other fabulous guests. So again, thank you for having me. I trust that we've shared what we needed to with this beautiful audience. And have an amazing rest of your day. You're a beautiful spirit, Carol. And thank you again for everything that you're doing.